Hello and welcome to Wikipedia Weekly Network. Here, where Albin Larsson and I, Jan Ainali, are editing Wikidata Live. How are you doing, Albin?
I'm doing really great. It was an awful weather here today, but still I went out and picked a lot of berries and got in really wet. And now I'm like in this cozy mode with thick socks on me and all of it and really ready to edit Wikidata.
What
How are
kind of
you,
berries
Jan?
did you find?
What's they called in English? Lingon? Lingonberry?
It's lingonberries, yes.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
bunch of lingonberry, which
All
I
right.
directly made jam out of.
Nice. Well, I've been indoors all day because it's the Wikimedia Summit going on. So I've been in front of the computer since 10 this morning. So starting to get to me, but we will get through this.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
What do
so
you have
too.
on your plans today?
We have this thing on Gov directory where we want to play around with using field of work, the property, to like categorize different type of government agencies from different countries. And I thought I would start here to explore what type of content we have there, if we can edit something, maybe a bit of quick statements even. So yeah, something like that. And you, Jan?
Well, I got sort of inspired by the Wikimedia Summit, meeting all people from all the affiliates, and I remembered a map of chapters, and I was thinking, how could we even replicate that in Wikidata Query Service and even, perhaps even on Wiki, on Meta? So I'll try to explore
Yeah.
that. So this is the map of the Wikimedia chapters that is this one is on Meta, I guess. It's on Commons, of course. But this was the one I was thinking, like, do we have data about this, and how can we query it, and could we perhaps even replace it with a map frame or something like that? So that's where we're gonna go. So to do that, heading into this Wikidata Query Service, and I want to select something, and knowing that I might go to map frame, I'm not going to call it item, because that's going to make me have to change things later, because in cartographer it needs to be called ID. So I'm going to use ID here. So that's my first. Now,
Yes, when you say frame, you mean like embedded on wikis and not only in the query service.
Yes, through cartographer. In Wikidata Query Service, of course, it doesn't matter what it's called, but it's when we're taking it somewhere else.
Exactly.
But first, I want to explore a little bit. So then, of course, we're going to need a label. And let's see. And I want something that's instance of Wikimedia chapter. So let's see if we have something like that. And yes, we do. The third one here is the local chapter of the Wikimedia movement. So let's start with that and see what we get. That's a simple query. Oh, I'll need to call the label service. Control space is what brings up this menu as well. I'll go with this. So here we find 47 results. I didn't know there were that many. Oh, we have a user group here. That's interesting. Let's have a look.
Today's first edit.
Perhaps.
At least live.
Instance of wiki and chapter. No links here. We have a reference to Wikitech.
That's not every day.
Then it's probably about the actual wiki. Oh, this is Log ID.
Wow.
I think I'm going down the wrong rabbit hole here.
Yeah.
Let's see. GE Wikimedia. All right. Of course, they have a chapter or user group wiki.
Oh.
All right. So that's why it's in the Wikitech. Fabricator. But no reference for, well, let's have a look at the wiki.
Yeah. And interesting, is it about the wiki or about the user group?
That's a good question. But here it actually says user group. So I think either way, I'm going to change this to English here. So, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see it better because this was a little bit tiny for you. So first change to English, and then we'll give it a couple of zooms. Is that readable? Yes, I think that's better. But it's not a chapter. It's a user group. It was a user group in the name. It was a user group in the logo here. So I think this is just a mistake. So let's see if we do have the Wikimedia user group. Yes.
Neat.
I'll actually just do that change, and if I'm wrong and it is a chapter, please revert me. We all make mistakes. All right. So one edit down.
I think you could add a reference there to the wiki itself.
Yes, possibly, but I don't know. Like we can see it in the logo. I guess a better reference would be on Meta.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Indeed.
But here we come to my first a little conundrum, because this is a chapter, but this is a user group, and both of these are in the Wikimedia Summit, and I will actually try to capture them both if possible. So let's see how these are actually modeled. I can close this one. The user group is a mess of subclasses.
Yeah, that's a real mess.
And let's have a look at the Wikimedia chapter, how it looks. If there's some common. Oh. So it's not much better. So this is not easy to capture because they're not in a tree or really.
No.
So
there are a lot of trees.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to go with the type of query where I just name a bunch of items with the values and just assign that. So let's try to do that here. So I'm going to go here and use the values, and I'll call this org. And in here, we can put each of these. So I'll first copy this one or move it up. And keep it here. Then I can make another one for the user group, because the first one was still the chapter, was it? Yes. User, many user things. Group, there we go. Then I'll change this one to just have that, org. So that will give me twice. But now I also remember we have one more type. So to be thorough, add that immediately. And I think those are called in English Wikimedia thematic organization. So let's see if we find something. Yes. Undefined. So no description, but it is that one. All right. So now I hope I'll get a bunch more, probably something in between 150 and 200, I expect. Oh, even over 200. So we have.
Oh.
User groups coming in here. Nice. So that's all well and good. So now I sort of have my selection. Possibly the data is not the best yet, but let's see if we can put these on a map somehow. And we tried a little bit. I'm going to save us some time. We tried a little bit earlier today, and it looks like there's some parts of the map chain that doesn't really work on the wikis right now. Is that right, Albin? Did I understand it correctly?
Yeah, there was some problem today. I
Yeah,
found out that it wasn't me, it was an actual problem with
yeah,
a couple of countries missing in the service currently.
yeah. So I'm going to focus here a little bit like last week to do it in the Wikidata query service, and then it'll have to be done a little bit different on the cartographer, because in the cartographer, when it works, we have the shortcut of actually just selecting Wikidata items, and if they have connection in OpenStreetMap from the country to the Wikidata item, then we can get the map for free. And all the countries, I think, have that in OpenStreetMap. So it's a good coverage when it works. But for now, we're going to stick it to do it in here. And that'll leave us to that we'll have to select the GeoShape thing. So let's see if we can do that in a smart way. So now we have the item and the organization type. So we also need to figure out here then the country it is in. And that's 17. And I'll call that country to be then from the country. I want GeoShape. Yes. Thankfully, also, someone or several people together have uploaded the shapes of countries to Wikimedia Commons and added them as values, which makes it absolutely fantastic resource when especially working on the country level. Do you
Yeah.
know, do we have good coverage on other levels as well?
Not very good like on administrative levels, but some countries got really good like for nature reserves and things like that. So it depends on the topic as very often
Yeah,
in Wikimedia.
yes. And I'm guessing like states in the US are in there. They're not that many.
Yeah.
But you can't be sure that your country has all levels yet.
Yeah.
But if you
In
find the data
Sweden,
sources, then they are free. do add them or tell someone so we can
yeah.
add them, because
I
it's
know I
really
have
cool.
a list somewhere to upload various Swedish ones.
Yes,
So
nice. So here I'm gonna call this. What am I gonna call this? I'm gonna call this shape and for now. And will this just work? Let's try it. Now I added two things, so I expect, because not all the things have countries, some are global. So I'm guessing we get a lot less than 209. Let's see what we do get. Yes, 145. Here. Oh, I didn't select the shape. We need to select the shape. Yes, and then all had shapes, so all were selected. So that was quite good. And now the map thing is under here. And when the Wikidata query service, there is the pop-up, yes. And when the Wikidata query service has data to display something, it'll actually turn them active. And now we see that the map is active and it's like, oh, I know about something I can put on a map. It could be coordinates or other things. And in this instance, it is actually pointing on a GeoShape that is on Commons. So let's go into map and see how it looks. Oh, and now it'll have to load the map data. Ooh, and that's quite some coverage.
Indeed. Way more than the one on Meta, but maybe it's
Yes.
different contents.
And here it comes also some things for free. When I click on these, it shows associated values, so where the actual map file is and what it's on. And here, of course, we see, right, Wikimedians of Chicago has correctly the country USA. So this map is not exactly like this one, because here we see just a few states. So I'm not sure how we could do that. But I also now realized this one had different colors. Now these are different colors for what status they are informing. But I'm thinking we're selecting up here
The various types.
Yes, so if I could put these into the layer, that would be pretty neat. So I can probably just do a bind here.
Yeah, but just rename it the variable as well, right?
Yeah. So org as layer. And we saw this last week, that layer is this kind of magic word. So when you're working with map and have something called layer, you'll just create a layer on the map and assign not random colors, but there's a color scheme it follows. So let's see out if this gives us something more. And now we can see, we can already see here, yes, we do get something in the layer, but it will not have the, we don't know, well, here we see that this is a user group. But it would be nice to get the name. Let's just first look at the map.
Yeah.
And we'll have to load.
Could it be that there are two types in the same country now?
Yes, it could be. Because I think we have several user groups that are covering several, like it's covering a language, and then it covers several countries. Yeah. So what do we have here? We have blue and orange. And if I click here, this is Wikimedia Sweden. So the orange ones are the chapters.
Yeah.
Strangely, the blue, for some reason, the Wiki Voyage Association comes on top over
exactly.
the Wikimedia Germany. So this is not a perfect map.
No.
But I'm still kind of amazed how much of the world is covered by some sort of activity.
Yeah.
Of course, maps always are like this are tricky because it's not for sure that we have some activity like in the middle of the Amazon rainforest or in northwest Canada or in northern of Russia.
Yeah.
So, but still, this is quite nice. But I want to make these labels a little bit better. So let's see if I can improve that.
Yeah, and we can also see that we only got two colors because I imagine the thematic ones aren't having any country statements.
And that sort of makes sense because the two thematic that exist is Amical Wikimedia and Wikimed.
Yes.
So Wikimed is global, and Amical perhaps doesn't want to put in a country in there by design.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah. Now, how do I want to give these layers a good name? So I think I'm going to do very similar to last time. I think I'm going to do the org Weibo. Just give that O for now. And then I'm going to filter lang of O be English. So you only get one, even if they have several. And then I'm going to change here, not find the org, but find the O instead. That might do the trick. Yes. So here we see chapter, user group, and so forth. And if I turn on the map here again, oh, did it swap the colors?
Yeah, I think it tries to like load all the map layers at the same time, so it's random the order.
Now the
Because
user
you can
group.
also see that some
Yeah.
didn't change color.
Yeah.
So I think it's random how it loads the map files. Because it
Very
actually loads
interesting.
every map file.
Yes.
That's what's going on in the background there.
Yeah. Perhaps I can force this by sorting. I'm not sure, but yeah. But now we can
That's
see
a
here Wikimedia
good
chapter,
question.
Wikimedia user group. And we also get the Wikimedia chapter here, so easier to understand what it is. And here we have, so here we have Wiki Conference North America user group, which I guess covering several countries in North America. That's why it's very a lot of coverage. All right. What else can I improve on this one here?
I want to try the sorting.
All right. So do you want it sorted alphabetically or on type?
Or on type.
So then I'll go layer.
Yeah, that could work.
Oh, and I'm going to do this because I'm tired of changing. So we also have these default views. We've shown them several times, but since now we're always interested in the map, I'll just select that one and it'll head straight into it.
Let's see.
All right. So it changed again.
Interesting. That's interesting. We get a user group in the UK and Germany.
Oh, and here we have a user group in Spain on top of the Wikimedia chapter. Yes.
Yeah, it seems like user groups now are prioritized above.
All right. So if I change it, do you think I'll get all the?
I'm not thinking so much yet. I'm just interested in the result.
Yes. So order by layer is by default ascending, I guess. So if I
Yes.
change this to be descending, we should, if this is my layer is correct, we should see the chapters on top now. So let's see if this is something that actually is what's happening, or if it's just by ID or something else. Oh, now we got the chapter on top here. And now we got Wikimedia Canada on top here.
Yeah, but not in Germany, right? Or did they swap the colors?
Yes, yes. So now we have all the chapters here.
Okay, then it actually does it in order.
Yes.
We learned something today.
That's something neat.
Yeah, that's really good to know.
And I guess this is also, in a way, better for the map because the chapters are for countries. So
yeah,
and then the others takes.
Then it's like fallback.
Maybe I just hit Colorado by Colorado. Oh yes, Colorado is entire US. So wherever I click, I get Colorado. So now I guess the North America is below Colorado. So I can't really click that one. Oh, well, there on Cuba I could.
Yeah, but this is. I mean, you could kind of work around such cases with like in SparkL later on if you really wanted to. So I
Yeah.
think this is very because it also acts like a fallback the user groups. So I think it
Hmm.
makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
I like this.
I'm going to add one more thing here. It's going to be an optional because I don't think they all might have it on Wikidata yet. But let's do an optional for logo. And I think that's just logo image. Those should be free and be on commons and in the item. No, this would be the ID. Here we'll put logo. And then if we have it, let's show it. I think it'll be smart enough to pull that in since it's a commons file. Let's see if it does. I know it can take P18. I wonder if it can take P154 as well. I hope so.
I think it's based on the data type, so it should
Yeah,
work.
should be. So let's see. Do we have? Yes, beautiful.
Oh, yeah, there it showed up. It takes a second here.
Yeah.
See if you
Oh,
no, not in Canada. Yeah, there it is.
yes. Actually, it showed on my screen a lot earlier.
Yeah, I
So
can
I
imagine.
think my computer is having a hard time right now. I'm messing with it, and it's been working
Yeah,
all day already. I'm too.
yeah, and the map is also a little bit heavy. We know when you're
Yes,
doing things like this.
it's a lot of polygons in here. I see already the Algeria uh, user group logo. Let's see
Yeah, on
if
my
it
end, the
can.
Canadian one is still disappearing.
Yes. Oh, there it
There it
comes.
is.
All right. Yes. Well, I think this was sort of like what I wanted to play with to get today. After I was hoping to also to get this to be something to put on Meta or something like that, but that might be a
Yeah,
future episode when servers are more happy.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
for now, I'll share this one with you in here so you can see it and try it. And with that, I think I'm done for the day.
Nice. Then I'm gonna jump to it. It's Gov directory today, and in particularly this part of Gov directory, we have this page with topics and public order and safety, economic affairs, what you can expect the government to do. So, for example, if I go in on environmental protection here, we should get a list of agencies working in this space. But we can see here under country that all of them are Swedish. It's because those topics are based on like a controlled vocabulary from the UN, and it has been really hard to like get that data. So I want to experiment with replacing it with Wikidata's property field of work because I also kind of like the idea of the community actually being able to curate this rather than using this predefined vocabulary. So I want to take, for example, Sweden, where we have coverage today, and compare field of work with this CFOG property, as it's called, and maybe do a bit of editing to see if we can actually bring up coverage in some easy way. So that's where I'm starting, and um, we have these huge SparkL queries for countries, where we essentially say we want all of these things. mostly easy things like the type, description, the label, and also the CFOG, which is the topic. But here, we, for example, we got various values with the various types of government agencies. I want to keep that. For now, actually, I want to keep everything. Here's we doing some special thing with embassies because they might say a country that isn't Sweden because an embassy is not necessarily here. We, for example, have an embassy in London. It says country London. So here we actually need to do jurisdiction instead and things like that. And then we have a very special agency which isn't a generic one and has a specific type. It's unique in a way because it's administration for the court system. So we also remove some things that are like old and no longer exists, and then it's the CFOG and some general QID modifications. So I run this and we can see what the data looks like. Um, so we got the Swedish National Courts Administration. You can see the type is blank here because it's a really special one. And we can also see CFOG here, a bunch of topics. So if I, for example, go into this one here, and this is just general public services, and it's described here by the UN and so on. And it's also maintained by the Wikipedia code directory. So I imagine these ones doesn't have, they are pension funds. And I imagine they don't have a field of work, but maybe we can set one up. Then we have the Consulate General of Hong Kong, for example. It doesn't have this CFOG. I don't think we have that on embassies and such. That's the type I just went to because I need this QID. So let's pick that out, head over here, just replace the QID up here. And I imagine we don't have field of work. No, we do not have field of work. Okay, so we got a bit of a general idea. So let's see where we actually have field of work. So I'm thinking I'm gonna strip this down a little bit just to make it easier for myself. So I don't need to select. CFOG is still interesting. Country is not interesting because it's just Sweden. The type, I don't need a type and type label. I'm just happy with label. The description can go away as well. And instead of QIT, just the raw QID, I actually want the URL or URI. So that's org here. And then I want the field of work. And I want that to be something optional. So I do optional and say org VDT field of interested in field of work. There we go. 101. I should be able to remember that. Then field of work.
Do you want that? All right. Yes.
And I want to select it as well, of course. So let's do it last here. And I want the label. And I actually want the item itself to ensure that I can click it and see what it's actually about just in case. So let's run it. And we can see we're missing. Let's scroll here until we see something. Here we see something. Counterintelligence. What can we believe that CFOG is about? Defense or public security or something like that? Public order and safety.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Makes sense. Occupational health and safety. Yeah, that's a very specific one. I like that. And it's just an economic affairs here. So this is kind of what I'm hoping we could use it for. Having a little bit more specific. Here we got gender equality.
Oui. Very specific.
for one. Yeah, and really good because that's all they do.
Yes.
And let's see, is it public services? No, it's economic affairs because that's what it's qualified at the UN.
Uh-huh.
And let's keep going. We have all the embassies which are missing both, which is really interesting. But here we are, have a couple of one missing CFOG, but
They are really
I
new.
will- they are really new. That might be the
Yes.
reason they're missing CFOG. We got Office of Physiological Defense, which is physiological warfare, which is kinda, but I could imagine we could make it even more specific because it's just defense.
I think the defense is Swedish for warfare.
Yeah, I feel like it's a different. I know countries which has more generic terms.
Yes, I mean we have the words, but what they
Yeah.
do is warfare. So even the Swedish
Is that what they
Försvarsmakten,
do?
Swedish Defense Forces, is like when you do defense, it is warfare.
Yeah, okay. You don't think defense is more? No, maybe that's more generic. Depends on the perspective.
Yes.
Interesting. And then we got the Institute of Human Rights, at least, which is just human rights, and nothing like that is like in CFOG. This is really specific compared to it.
Mhm.
So I really like this idea, but I can also see that the coverage here is there is a lot of work to be done. More embassies, so maybe that's where I was. Let's go to the next page. Municipalities, they are missing both CFOG and the field of work, which is kind of they do a lot. Maybe we need something specific for municipality work. But then we got a lot of things here, like Minister of Finance, Foreign Affairs, Minister of Defense, which shouldn't be missing CFOG. Oh, the ministers actually do miss because they are not reported to the UN in the same way. Another example of why it could be really useful.
Mhm.
Um,
And the municipalities is also not in the UN
no,
data.
no, it's just what in Swedish would be förvaltningsmyndighet, I believe.
Yes.
Many municipalities. Here we got regional councils, the courts. Here we actually do have we have two supreme courts, yeah, and they have a CFOG. Let's see what it is. Just to learn it, it's public order and safety. Here we got more embassies, but a different type. And then we got a bunch of, I think they are förvaltningsmyndigheter, but they are a little special.
Mhm.
So I wonder if we could like find something generic here and change. Otherwise, something I would like to play around with is the ministries because they have such good names, so you can kind of figure it out from the name. But I
Also,
also
the
have
embassies are doing similar work. So if we like, it would be easy to add them like a lot short.
yeah
Like, is that diplomatic
yeah
relations?
for foreign affairs, diplomatic relations, something like that. We can actually see if someone has already worked on this by doing a query.
Ah,
So
I like that.
let's a bit of exploratory worker. Select, oops, star where, and then we do instance of embassy. And BD, is that it? No.
With an E.
Yeah, that's it. Permanent diplomatic mission. And then we do item and just pick the field of work essentially. And I should have learned it. It's 101. And just call it field. Just run it like that. We got one. Do you want to do a guess?
I think diplomatic relations. Oh,
Oh, that's interesting
that was very specific.
and a little bit annoying from my perspective.
Yes.
Now,
What
Denmark,
does it have any
Japan
subclass?
relations. It's instance of bilateral relation. Um, this is really interesting because
Bilateral relations is actually that's really specific and what exactly what an embassy does.
yeah, and this is really interesting because I just realized as I saw this item that we have a lot of Wikipedia articles on the relationship between two countries, and I
Hmm.
think that's where this comes from.
Hmm.
So the embassies is probably a case like this. Yes, we can see it already here, and I imagine like we would have the same thing: Sweden, United Kingdom relationships, and things like that. Let's just copy this and then replace the country here. Yeah. Then if I do Germany here, I get the same article, and I imagine I could continue this and do Sweden here. Yeah. And then Japan-Sweden relations, also known as Sweden-Japan relations. So this is a really interesting case. But it's a special case, I believe. So I'm gonna leave it for now.
Hmm.
Um, but now I learned something. And that I think we could do kind of automatic, like add such field of work because those articles are probably really common. But if we head back here, something I'm pretty sure like this pension funds, I feel like is something we could find a field of work for. Pensions or pensions funds. Let's see, where do we have the type to begin with? Because sometimes we could have a field of work on the type as well, I imagine. Um,
There you
there,
have it.
AP fund, it's called in Swedish. So it's subclass of a pension fund. Let's see if I just do. I would like this to be on the various types. Let's. I can still search for it here. Of work. Oops. And then pensions. Um, what if we go to pension fund and then we go to Wiki pension funding? Mm. But it's also an interesting item because I think this is part of another vocabulary
Hmm.
from, I think it's from the European Union, but that I can't swear on. Um, Different from social insurance, that also good field of work for some. Pension funding seems really good actually. Let's see if there's a Wikipedia article which we can maybe find authority. Mean Sweden. If we go to the Norwegian here, no, it's its own. No, Pension Fund of Norway. It's actually its own article. Um, do we have the sovereign wealth funds? It's interesting. No, I think the best type we can find is this. It's this pension funding, but I think that's kind of specific actually for the, the authorities that actually do pension funding. So I think we could actually add that to all of them as field of work, and it would be an improvement.
Hmm.
And I have previously shown this, but we can kind of use quick statements and the query service to do things like this. So if I go to another instance of the query service, let's see if I can get this right on the first try. And we need the QID of the item we want to edit, and we want the new value in a second column. So I first want to select the item, just getting what we need to work with. And these ones are instance of P1 and PD. Do I have it on my clipboard? No, that's pension funding. Let's see then. I'm just gonna copy it. That's it. There we go. That's the pension funds. In quick statements, we actually can't have them as their URIs, but we actually have this little bit of a sheet code down here, which replaces the URI with use the QID. There it is, and it's not org, we want to do the item. And QID, I think that's exactly the same we need in quick statements. And then we just want to bind this singular value to column with the ID of the property, I believe. So we can do bind, and then I have a string with this orchard queue number, which is pension funding. I'm going to double check. It's 2977. It did not look the same. Good that I double checked. And given that, we can bind it as field of work, which is P101. And if I run this, I think we still need to say that we just want the QID and PID, but just see what we get here. We get the items, they match the QID, and here's the new field of work. So I'm gonna say QID. I'm gonna say P101. I'm gonna run this. And I'm gonna download this as a CSV. It's downloaded to my computer. It might be out of your view, but it's there. And then I want to go to quick statements. Do I have it in my... No, let's search for it. And Wikidata. Help quick statements. And there should be a link here. Version 2. And I can click log in first. Allow. I can click new batch. And I have this import CSV commands. And I now have this file downloaded. I'm just opening it in the background as a text file. I'm just gonna copy the raw content, so to say. So, a second here. Oh, I'm at a high query number for my downloaded CSV. 96.
You do this often.
I do this often. There we go. And there is a bit of like information on that help page I used where on how to format this, but I think I know it by now. So the item we want to edit, the property, the new value. And this can be as long as you would like, but now I'm clicking import CSV commands here. And we actually got a bit of a preview, so to say. So we got the various AP funds, as they're called here. Sometimes it's the English label, sometimes the Swedish, it seems like. And it says we're adding something, we're adding a statement, field of work, pension funding. So I want to just click run here, and it should go really quickly here. There we go. Let's actually go to to Wikidata and my contributions. So we can see, yeah. Then we have a bunch here that says created claim, field of work, pension funding. And I think it's this type of practice we need to like do to being able to maybe replace this. As I said, I just want to experiment with it for now. I don't think it's that easy to implement either, because the other one was the control vocabulary, and this one is a really open one.
Yeah, but it's adding, either way, it's adding value to Wikidata.
Yeah. Either way, even if it doesn't show up on Code directly, it adds value to Wikidata. Here I'm doing a bit of a trick. I could see here when I ran this that it wasn't updated, and either it's because it was minutes ago, or it's because it's cached. And if it's cached, there is a trick to do it. You just add a comment. Let's say hello, because then the service won't detect that it's actually the same query. So we're running this and see if
hello is not a magic word. It's just you adding something.
Yeah, exactly. I changed the query even if I didn't change the actual query.
Yeah.
So then we could see here that it ran the query from scratch again and found this pension funding field of work. So that really worked. And just by that, I think we doubled the coverage for the field of work item. However, I can imagine that some of this item also have like main subject, which is not optimal, but it's a really common thing to add. So that's something I want to check as well.
Yes.
Just in case, because then we can move them. So here, I'm just gonna replace the property for now and say main subject. And to make my life a little bit easier, I'm gonna remove the optional, so I only get the ones with the main subject. I'm gonna run this. Let's see, I hope for a few. It takes a while. Is it? It takes a really long while.
Yes, why?
Why exactly? Should I move this higher up? It shouldn't matter. This is interesting. Did I
If you
break
try
something?
optional anyway.
Yeah. Can replace this one. And then put optional around it. Yeah, maybe it's able to do some optimization then. Interesting. See, it's just blank here on the first page. Let's see what happened to that query. It timed out.
That's very strange.
That's a little bit strange. What if I move this and put it straight after where we select items? Shouldn't do different, I believe, but one never knows. And that was, I should have replaced the orchard one, so I had something to look at in the meanwhile. Okay, let's do the temporary thing here then. Let's say optional. There we go. And do like that temporary. We have checked the
That
first.
sounds really quick.
Yeah, this is odd. Oh, that's still running.
Yeah.
It's gonna scroll.
If you in the bottom choose to display like 2,000, and then you can sort on the field of work to get them all.
That's a neat trick. See if I say 1,000 and hope for my computer.
Yes, that's of course.
And then I do like that, I believe. No, click it once more. There we
One.
go. And we got one. And it's the National Museum. And it says Field of Work Art Collection, which is slightly questionable, I believe.
Mhm.
It's,
Especially when it's not really field work, but main subject.
yeah, yeah. And its field of work is more like art collection or art preservation or even something even more
Mhm.
generic or just art.
You could make a case for, since it's national museum, that the main subject is Swedish art.
Um, but I don't think it is, even in law, so to say.
Ah,
Um,
oh, that's interesting. Why the name then? But that's another rabbit hole.
yeah, it's 18th century nationalism rather than.
Ah, yes.
um, but today their mission is broader.
Hmm, hmm.
Um, yeah, this times out. I'm not sure why, and it doesn't really matter because you had this really nice trick where we could filter. But I was kind of expecting, or I could imagine that there was a lot of things here that just had this way that we could move a bunch of things. But in this case, I was happily surprised to see that that isn't the case. So I think I want to actually check on a different type here. So if I do remove a little bit here and I drop some types here, I think I need to drop this as well. Oops, let's double check what was that. Yes, it's the same thing as above. And I just want the ministries because they have those really nice names where you can kind of see what they do. And can I hover over this? That's undefined. Which is which here? Ministry. That's odd.
I think you dropped ministries.
You think I dropped ministries?
No. Ah,
Delegations, general. How many ministries is there? Can we use that to figure it out? State level departments, I
there we
believe.
go. Yes.
That makes sense. Um, it's more what we say in Sweden. It's similar as well. I think that should be valid. No, that shouldn't be there. That should be valid. See if I run this, 0 results.
You forget to select org. You just assign values
Yeah.
there. So org with types.
Yes, here we go. I needed to leave that one.
Yeah.
And I want the pop-up to disappear. State level departments, type. That's more like it. And did that one and that one. There we go. So for example, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I think that's a given one. It's Foreign Affairs. So if I do go down here and just do field of work, Foreign Affairs, Foreign Relations, it's in Wikidata, but it got a also known as. There we go. Minister of Finance. It's a very generic one. I wonder if it's like national finance or something like that. But the Minister of Culture, for example, that one we can do easily. It's
You
culture
already
and
had one value there.
oh really? Yes. Oh, but I think that should be changed and be more generic
Or
and be
both?
culture.
Is cultural heritage a subclass of culture?
Yes, I think so. Let's
All
see.
right.
Let's see what Wikidata says. Subclass of heritage, part of culture. Yeah, I get that modeling.
Mm-hmm. But then if you
Um,
change it for culture, it won't show up.
oh, it won't show up as cultural heritage. Mm, it
Or at
depends on
least it's a
heritage.
different type of query that's trickier.
It's tradition, maybe it goes around and becomes custom, okay, part of culture. This is really interesting. I would like to see a graph of this. Ah, mm, but that's interesting. I was also like an interesting case here is that like a year ago we would also add, for example, sports here because the Minister of Culture were also responsible for sports. However, in Sweden right now, and I'm actually going to add that because it's a little different, it's under the Minister of Justice.
It, just this is not enterprise energy and communications.
No, that changed many years ago. First to the Minister of Culture and then to the Minister of Justice, which is really odd. And that's why it's interesting.
Hmm. I knew that it's changed recently with the new minister, but I thought it went to the
Yeah, okay. I
Näringsdepartement.
don't, I don't think so. Let's check. It might have changed again. Who knows? In the meanwhile, I can do the Minister of Education and
Yeah,
Research.
I'll check it here. No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, yeah. Um, it's indeed it's an odd thing. That's why I found it interesting.
Yeah.
Field of work, and I'm not the Minister of Justice right now. And sports,
Also got for now migration.
migration, human migration,
Oh,
and is it justice or
yes,
let's see what Wikidata
with a C.
did. Did I, yes, of course. Broad idea of a situation where people receive what which they deserve.
Oh, the next one.
Yeah, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
And do you have a start date for sport as well,
There
or
should
is
be one here.
or do you use the year?
Year is going to be 2021.
2021.
Yeah.
Let's go with that for now. I
Yeah.
think it makes sense to add it here because I imagine it's gonna change soon
Mm-hmm.
again.
Maybe
Um,
in a couple of weeks. We have
exactly,
the
maybe in
Swedish
a couple of
election
weeks.
tomorrow.
Yeah. So yeah, that's an example, and I think this is really interesting because uh, we Jan and I used to discuss before that you can kind of see it from. I think it says up here in the instance of it says just this ministry, and you can kind of say that I know the field of work from that. But very often it's actually this case of it mixing a lot of things. Like you wouldn't imagine sports being here. So I think we might be onto something here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But with that, it was pretty much what I wanted to play around with, and I will continue this like on the side and maybe see if I can prototype something.
Very cool. All right.
And we will be back next week.
Yes, and I
And
think we know the theme for the next
yeah,
week because on Saturday next week it's the Software Freedom Day. So we'll try to And we have done some things on these themes before, both because it's data that's are recurring, but also that we like free software.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So until then,
Happy editing.
happy editing.